Hello and welcome back one more time to X2Z Movies. My name is Christopher Maverick, but you can call me Mav, and I am a professor of English Lit and pop culture and cultural studies and a bunch of stuff at the University of Pittsburgh, where I teach classes on pop culture, and I wanted to do a podcast with one of my favorite people in the world, so I invited a person who is a grand scholar of all things pop culture and literature and everything. This is my good friend Marie. Hello, Marie. How are you?
By good scholar of pop culture, he means I live among teenagers and I am one.
Yeah. Well, you are a teenager, and what is your academic background here as a pop culture scholar?
I'm in 8th grade. I walk around and constantly hear pop culture because that is what people do
That
in
is what
my
people
age.
do. All right. And but yes, you are one of my favorite people in the world that I just met randomly for no apparent reason. No, this is Marie is my niece, so thank thank you for doing the show with me. So this is, and I don't know the order of the shows that we've released them. I think though, this will be the first movie that we are reviewing that neither of us had seen before we decided to do the podcast together. What movie are we talking about today, Marie?
Wicked!
Wow, you like even sang it there.
It's a
Yes,
musical
it is a musical starring
starring Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo.
uh-huh. And we have both seen it. This is the first one that we're both watching in the theaters for the first time because at the time of recording, it is not yet available on streaming or DVD or anything like that. But we both went out and saw it. What is it about? You want to do a recap?
So, Wicked follows the backstory of the Wicked Witch of the West, Elphaba, and the Good Witch of the North, Glinda, from the 1939 movie The Wizard of Oz. It's based on a book that was then turned into a stage musical that is now the movie that's currently in theaters. And it starts right after the witch's death. And then it goes back in time to when Elphaba and Glinda are in, like, university.
Hmm.
And it kind of follows the ups and downs of their friendship and the journey that they go through throughout that time, and how the Wicked Witch of the West became the Wicked Witch of the West.
Hmm. And how Galinda, because her name isn't originally Glinda, it's Galinda,
Galinda,
and she
yeah.
changes it to Glinda, becomes the good witch of the
North.
well, north or south, depending on. It's very interesting. Like, I don't know if you know this, but when I was even younger than you, I was a massive Wizard of Oz freak. I loved them. I read all the Oz books when I was very, very little.
So I've never read them. I've only seen the movie.
Yeah, they're all public domain now, so you can just like download them all on the internet. But like,
Interesting.
because they were written in the first Wizard of Oz, the Wonderful Wizard of Oz is the first book, and it was written in the year 1900. So it is literally 124. Well, if it's after New Year's when this airs, it's 125 years old. It's well out of copyright. But I read all of these when I was a little kid, and so depending on whether you're talking about the movie or the book, Glinda is the Good Witch of the North, or she's the Good Witch of the South.
She's
In the
somewhere on the compass.
in the books, she's the Good Witch of the South. In the 1939 movie, she's the Good Witch of the North. In the books, the Good Witch of the South and the Good Witch of the North are two separate characters, just like the Witch of the East and the Witch of the West. This is kind of vague as to which one she is. It doesn't really matter, but it does tell you how they met, and it tells you how they become friends, and theoretically, how they're going to become enemies eventually.
Yeah.
So, because one of the weird things about this is that it's only the first half of the story.
Yeah. It's the first act of the play.
Hmm.
So there's still another half of the story that we haven't gotten to.
Hmm. Well, so did you know that was going to be halfway when you went to watch it? Because they went out of their way not to call it Wicked Part 1. It's just called Wicked. And then at the end, it's like, to be continued. Ha ha ha.
They do say if when you watch the intro sequence, you do this part
Yeah.
one, but it's not called it in like the actual official title.
Yeah.
I didn't know until I watched the movie and I saw the part one.
Hmm.
I I had never listened to the full cast recording, but
Hmm.
afterwards, when I got out of the theater, I looked at the official cast recording for the stage musical because I wanted to hear the differences between the two, and it
Hmm.
went past where the movie stopped. I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
it must have stopped at like Act One or something.
Yep, that's exactly what it does. It gets halfway, and then they'll presumably finish it.
It ends
So
on the
I,
most like iconic song in the musical.
what is the most iconic song?
De- Most people defying gravity, definitely.
Is the
Um,
yeah.
yeah, because one, it's the one scene where even in the musical, at that on the original cast recording, it's Adina Menzel, but it's Cynthia
Hmm.
Erivo in the movie,
Hmm.
is in the air while she's singing.
Hmm.
Which stays true in the movie. Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo sang all their lines on set, including while she was
Hmm.
doing her own stunts about 30, 40 feet spin, doing all that spinning around. She's
Hmm.
singing live.
So I'm judging by your general vibe here that I guess you liked it. You were a
I
fan of
I,
the.
I really liked it.
You really liked it.
I
Um,
did.
Yeah, I liked it. I we talked about it on my other show on Vox Podcast, on my main podcast, and my co-host there, Hannah, has been a fan of the musical and the novel on which the musical is based since she was your age. So she read,
I know the
she
musical
read
came
them
out in
when she was,
'03.
huh?
I said I know the musical came out in '03.
I think she actually read I think she might have seen it even before you're 14. I'd have to ask Hannah, but I think she was a little younger than 14 when she first read it or saw it or anything.
I
She's
haven't
read the
read the
book
book
too.
yet. I heard it's interesting.
It is I have the book. It is a little more grown up than I think the movie is. There are
I've heard definitely it's different. I want to read it, but I've been told that I should probably wait, and I probably will.
well, I don't know. You should wait or you should not. I'm not telling you to read it or not to read because I support you reading, and I also would deny knowing anything if your dad, my brother, asked me. So, and heaven forbid I should say that on the internet where he might say. But yeah, it's a little more grown up. I mean, there's sex in it and stuff, so that's fine. But I also think that was sort of implied in the music. What did you think? Because the thing that I think is interesting, we talked about this on the other show. One of the things that Wicked is known for is being very LGBTQ positive. Because there's a big question of are they gay? Are Elphaba and Galinda lesbians or not? And I, so I know the story. I think it was downplayed a little bit. It didn't seem like they were necessarily they were just friends in
Yeah,
the
they
movie.
didn't focus on that aspect in the
Right.
movie.
And they don't totally focus on it in the play either.
Yeah,
So what
it's
did you think?
more.
Did you notice it at all or did you not even consider it until after cuz I don't know what you knew about it before you saw it.
I've heard people talk about it. I definitely think they focused a lot more on them as friends.
Mhm.
In
Mhm.
both the stage musical and in the movie, where they kind of like when they're looking over at each other, and while they're talking about loathing, there's the line where there's a strange exhilaration in such total
Mhm.
detestation. I'm like, is there something else going on here? Throughout that
Mhm.
song? It's kind of funny.
So you did notice that when you were watching it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Well, so that's a question. So that definitely came through for you having because you said you'd never heard the album even before the
I'd
movie.
heard like certain songs from it, but I had never listened to the full like cast recording.
What made you go then? Why did you to go see it?
I want to see the stage musical. I have for a while,
Mhm.
and then the movie came out, and I'm like, huh, I really want to watch that
Mhm.
because then I can see the stage musical, and then I can have them both,
Mhm.
and it'd be really cool.
You went with your mom?
Mom, dad, and sister.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Did they also like it?
Yeah, I know. At least my sister liked it.
Okay. That's good. We should well, I'll have to ask her. Maybe you'll get fired and I'll ask her to do a podcast with me.
I would be sad.
Okay, that's fine. I love your sister too, so I love you both. So, but no, I think it's a very good movie. I personally think that I definitely recommend it. I guess I'm a thumbs up. I'm a thumbs up for it. I don't think I'm two thumbs up, but I think I'm a thumbs up. Where are you at?
I'm two thumbs up. I really, really like Wicked.
You
Um,
really liked it.
I like specifically the way Ariana Grande plays Glinda. And I don't know whether or not Kristen Chenoweth also did this. She's the
Hmm.
original stage production of Glinda. But the way she delivers some of her lines with such genuine sincerity, even as you watch the actions that she has, where Glinda's whole character is she wants to be seen as good, but she doesn't
Hmm.
want to put in the effort to
Hmm.
do the good things. And you hear some of her lines, especially the scene where she changes her name,
Hmm.
where it goes from Galinda to Glinda. It's I don't want to say it's a shallow act, but in the context of the scene, it kind of is. But she
I think
says
it's
it with such
shallow.
like she thinks she's doing something with it.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that's something that Ariana Grande really did well as the character.
So okay, well, let's come back. So I think she is shallow, and I think you're making a good point. Like you think you're saying she is shallow, but you think she doesn't know that she's shallow. You think she thinks that she's really a good person.
You even see like where she's genuinely distressed. She's like, something's wrong. I didn't get what I want.
Yeah. I think that makes her interesting. I think it's an interesting arc to watch. I think it's an interesting story to follow as she is trying to like I don't think she's a bad person. I think she's just a very good person who also is very shallow and therefore does not know that she has to like you said, she doesn't know that she has to do the work. She just expects things to just work out because she's rich and pretty, I think. That's the character she
Even
is.
in what is this feeling? Describing each other because they're both writing letters in the beginning of the song.
Mhm.
Glinda's line is unusually and exceedingly peculiar and altogether impossible to describe in reference to
Mhm.
Elphaba. In Elphaba, to describe Glinda, she just says blonde.
Okay. Yeah, which is a stereotype.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You can see Glinda like it feels like she's like trying not to insult her, but she's also
Mhm.
trying to describe her, and she doesn't really like her, so she's like peculiar.
Yes, alright.
There's
What do you
references
mean?
to both The Wizard of Oz and to like there's some references to the movie. There's some references that I found out were actually like references to the book.
Mhm.
Nessa Rose, who ends up being to the east because she's Elphaba's sister, she's gifted shoes by her
Mhm.
father when she first gets to Shiz.
The
It's
name of the school. It's the school that they go to.
Shiz
Mhm.
University.
Mhm.
Um, they're silver, which apparently is a reference to the original design of Dorothy's shoes. I
Well,
think
you've seen the original Wizard of Oz movie, and
in
in
the
the Wizard of
movie they
Oz,
were
they are ruby slippers. Yes, in the book, they are silver. They're silver. The Dorothy has and originally belonging to the Wicked Witch of the East, but Dorothy gets them. The silver shoes, they're called. When they made the Wizard of Oz movie, one of the things that was the Wizard of Oz movie was one of the first big blockbusters that was going to be in color because the original old movies were black and white, and this was when a lot of movies were still black and white because color film was more expensive, but they were transitioning to color. And in fact, that's the reason why the Wizard of Oz is black and white when they're in Kansas at the very beginning of the movie and at the end of the movie. But when they're in Oz, Oz is this rich land of color. And when they were filming that, they thought, they were like, okay, we could give her silver shoes, but silver is boring. You can do silver in black and white. That's not special. They really wanted to show off. They wanted the shoes to really pop since it was going to be in color. So they just changed them to red. Silver is not really special enough for color film. So we need to use a color. Red's people like red. Red will really show up bright on film. Nothing else is red.
it's
You know,
eye
she's gonna
patch,
wear
it's
this blue
fashion.
dress. Yep. Yeah. So they made them red and sequiny. But now, since that movie was so popular,
People
when's the
know
first
them
time
as
you
the ruby red slippers.
and when's the first time you saw The Wizard of Oz?
I was probably pretty young.
But you saw it when you were very little. I know your mom and dad would have shown it to you, and your grandma would have shown it to you when you were really little because she likes that movie. It's one of those things that like everybody knows them as the Ruby Slippers now, even though in the original novel they're actually just silver. So anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
they're silver in
Mhm.
the movie Wicked. They're silver again.
Yeah, there's a silver pair of shoes that are gifted to Nessa Rose. And not only are they silver, if you look at the design of them, specifically
Hmm.
the heel that pops out, it's meant to look like a tornado. See in the wizard we're not in Kansas anymore.
What other you
Oh,
notice any other Easter eggs that you liked?
there's a couple that would be spoilers for Act Two. There's also Glinda during Popular. She has this, speaking of the shoes, ruby red pair of slippers that she clicks in her hands three
Hmm.
times.
Hmm.
which is a reference to the Wizard of Oz in the ruby slippers that she wears and how she has to get home. I'm sure
But you noticed all these when you were watching it.
Also, there's a big cameo for anyone who's watched the stage musical in One Short Day. When they're in the Emerald City, Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel pop up. Original Glinda and Elphaba.
Even though you'd never seen the play, you were excited.
I knew who they were.
It's fair enough. So,
go
ahead.
In the beginning of in the very first song, they bring out this like giant, I think it's hay statue of the witch, and the position she's like, the way she's posed is the iconic defying gravity pose from the stage musical, which is one I actually like a certain scene I actually had seen. So that's another fun one.
So now, so you definitely seem excited about it. Do you think this is a movie? I asked you this on another show. This is a movie. Do you think you'd recommend it to just anybody, to people your age? What do you feel like?
Definitely. I think it's really fun, and it's like a new movie, but it's based on an old movie. So people who like old movies can think of The Wizard of Oz when they see this, and people who like new movies, or even a lot of my friends are theater kids.
So you think you're going to watch it again one day?
Definitely. I will be binging it repeatedly when it comes to streaming services.
Okay, fair enough.
It's so good.
All right. So what was your final rating? My final ratings. I'm a thumb. You're 2 thumbs up. We're gonna have our very arbitrary emoji rating scale that we use on the show. Is we're definitely positive on it. So everybody should go see the film. Okay. We'll have to figure out movies for next time. Are you willing to make there be a next time? Can we do more of these shows where we talk about more movies?
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. All right. Well, if you're listening to this, then please subscribe to us on iTunes or Pandora or Spotify or wherever you get podcasts from. Right now, we are on the Vox podcast feed because I haven't felt like making a special podcast feed for just us. So we're just going to hitchhike on the back and see if anybody notices. But you can also subscribe to us on YouTube. We're on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
On the Vox podcast on YouTube, where they should do what?
Like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.
You like saying that? Does it make you feel very, very, very YouTube-y? All right, wonderful. Yeah, if people do that, that will help us out and help people find the show. And you should leave us comments telling us what you think of this movie, these movies, what other movies we should watch. She needs to be educated. Marie needs to see some fine films. She needs to see some fine films from the 80s, classic movies, good movies with people who she's never heard of. Fine old stars. Oh, we'll have to find some stuff from the 70s for you that you'll love. You will actually love the clothes. So we'll have to find some good movies. People should recommend movies for you to watch.
I need to find more modern movies for you to see.
We'll see.
I love my 2010 movies.
I like 2010 movies too. See, the problem is I actually watch a lot of these movies too, same as you. All right, so we will see you next time. Goodbye.